Welcome to the regular meeting of the Board of Trustees for the West Ada School District. It is Monday, December 8th, 2025 at 6:02 p.m. If everyone would please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If you stand here for a quick picture and have the board stand. This is why we have teachers here.
Mrs. Scheller, she's on it.
Yes.
Almost
This is
like
what
she's
we need.
Yeah.
Okay, everybody hands down,
Yes, ma'am.
stand up, smile.
I'm doing it too.
Yes, Mr. Scheller. Absolutely, Mr. Scheller.
Okay. Thank you. And just as a reminder to anyone that came tonight from Star Elementary, we'll have a little presentation on Star in just a minute if you want to stick around and hear that. Madam Clerk, are there any changes to the agenda?
Madam Chair, I posted an amended agenda this afternoon in order to move the strategic wearable technology from consent agenda down to new business.
Perfect. We'll need to approve that with a roll call vote. Trustee Benetti?
Aye.
Trustee McCullough? Aye. Trustee, do we need a motion? Pardon me, a motion first, please. Trustee Benetti?
I move that we accept the amended agenda.
Do we need a second? Second, please. Trustee Redford?
Second.
Now let's do a roll call vote. Trustee Benetti?
Aye.
Trustee McCullough? Aye. Trustee Redford?
Aye.
Vice Chair Zuna?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion carries 5-0. With that, we'll turn the time over to Dr. Bubb for his report and spotlight.
Madam Chair, trustees, I'm just going to start with wishing everybody happy holidays as we head into this holiday season. It's busy. There's a lot going on. Hopefully everybody had a good Thanksgiving and is ready to finish up the semester strong. We finished up the semester, not that anybody isn't counting, but about 2 weeks. I think I heard 9 days here. So thankful for our staff, thankful for our families, and thankful for our students as they finish up this semester strong. We have a lot on the agenda tonight, so I'm going to get right to it and ask the principal at Star Elementary, Mr. Adams, which I'm super impressed that he's here because I think he manages about 1,000 kids a day. So thank you so much for being here and talk a little bit about the great things going on at Star.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Dr. Bubb, and our esteemed board for providing this opportunity for Star Elementary and our students to participate in tonight's board meeting. And to all of those who also traveled from Star, our parents, our student leaders, our teachers, appreciate it because it is not a short trip from Star to come. At Star Elementary, I apologize, I went the wrong one. At Star Elementary, one of the ways we begin each week with dignity and pride is that our student leaders, along with myself, raise the United States flag. This weekly ritual isn't just ceremonial. It's symbolic of our commitment to leadership, responsibility, and community values. Teachers like Mrs. Batanti and Ms. Hines play an essential role in giving our students real opportunities to step up and lead within our school community. In addition to our flag team, we have students who read our announcements, who are reading buddies with our pre-K and our kindergarten, and who welcome new students to our school. Our mission, building the foundation for responsible lifelong learners, comes alive when our students are trusted with responsibilities and leadership roles. We're proud of the academic growth we've seen at Star Elementary, especially in our reading assessments, the IRI, Idaho Reading Indicator. For kindergarten last year, we saw our proficiency rise from 61% proficient to 81% proficient. The growth rate that we attained was just over 13 points per month, which is a growth rate of almost 2 times what the target is. So not only does that get kids, keep kids proficient, but it gets that extra growth that we need if we have students who are behind. Our third grade students also came in really strong last year in reading and in math, and they demonstrated great growth through the year with 78% of our students being proficient in reading, and right around that same number when it came to math. This data reflects the effectiveness of our instruction, early intervention, and consistent support, especially in early reading. This growth helps fulfill our mission by laying a strong academic foundation early and enabling lifelong learners. Community building and engagement. We believe school is more than just academics. It's also about building community. Every year we host events that bring students, families, and the wider community together. During our Grandparents' Day at the beginning of the year, over 275 grandparents came to the school and participated in our lunch and our picnic that we had. This is a meaningful opportunity connecting multiple generations to our school. Through our PTO's Fun Run and 5th grade Color Run, our school community regularly come together, raising money to support the school programs, and enrichment. As a fun staff community highlight this year, we held a staff costume relay race. And yes, I even got to participate by getting a pie in the face because the students reached their goal. Our annual Halloween parade draws I put 300, it's a very conservative number. At least 300 patrons within our community come and participate with our Halloween parade. This shows how our school is a hub for community celebration and connection. These events strengthen relationships, build our school spirit, and reinforce that we are all invested in our school's success, academically and socially. Arts and music are also integral to a holistic education. Our 4th grade Veterans Day concert is a wonderful example. Under the guidance of our dedicated music teacher, Mrs. Benishik, students prepared an incredible performance honoring our veterans, learning not only music and performance skills, but respect, history, and community. These concerts showcase student talent, build confidence, and foster pride, both in individual achievement and in collective effort. Through events like this, we nurture well-rounded learners, students who appreciate history, music, and teamwork. Honoring our community. Our school's name, Star Elementary, is deeply rooted in the history of our town. Back in the 1870s, the first schoolhouse was built, and when completed, a man sought out a star, nailed it to the door wall, and that star became a landmark for travelers, and in time, the community became known as Star. What began as a small rural settlement along travelers' routes and farmland has, over 150 years, grown into a vibrant community. Today's Star is still a beacon to those who are moving to our valley, as our continued growth shows. As the only elementary school in Star, until next year, for so many years, we've been honored to carry forward that legacy, shaping the next generation in a community with deep roots, strong identity, and a shared commitment to growth, learning, and belonging. Our role at Star Elementary is not just to educate, but to connect the past, present, and future of Star, building responsible, lifelong learners who will contribute to the fabric of our community. In closing, Star Elementary is a school that leads with heart and purpose. Through strong academics, vibrant community events, and meaningful traditions, we're building the foundation for responsible, lifelong learners, academically, socially, and as citizens. Again, I want to thank all of our students that came out today, our parents, our teachers, and appreciate our board for providing the opportunity for us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and if we could take a quick picture with you and anybody you'd like to invite up representing Star, that'd be great.
Madam Chair, trustees, I'd like to now bring up Mr. Will Height, principal at Centennial High School, and I see some friendly Centennial faces here, so I'm sure he'll introduce those folks and talk a little bit about the great things going on at Centennial.
Good evening, Chair Frazier, trustees, Dr. Bubb, and West Ada staff. It is truly an honor to serve as the principal of Centennial High School and to share with you this evening. CHS is a special place, rich in tradition and shaped by nearly 40 years of investment from our staff, students, and families over the years. Our core values of caring for ourselves and others, demonstrating honor in all we say and do, and serving our community continue to foster an authentic culture of kindness. This kindness ensures that our students feel seen, valued, and confident in their ability to reach their highest potential. Our staff and students love being at Centennial, and it's a culture that families consistently seek out. This year I signed numerous transfer requests from those who simply want to be a part of the loving community that we've built. At CHS, diversity is celebrated as a strength, helping our students truly understand that we are better together. I am proud that our school is developing young people who are already making our world a kinder and better place to live. At this time, I would like to thank Mr. Ruff and Mrs. Four, sitting at the back, for their leadership of our student council. I would also like to invite our ASB co-presidents, Madeline Bueller and Bailey Simpson, to the podium to share more about our culture and how it is shaped by our core values. At this time, could we please welcome Madeline and Bailey?
Good evening, Chairman Frazier, Dr. Bubb, and Board of Trustees. My name is Bailey Simpson.
And my name is Madeline Bueller, and we are the ASB co-presidents at Centennial High School. We are accompanied tonight by advisors Mrs. Four and Mr. Ruff.
We want to share with you how CHS, Care, Honor, Serve, has become a part of our daily lives at Centennial. We care about each other, honor, and celebrate our uniqueness, and strive to serve others in all that we do. This is what makes Centennial special.
We will start by honoring our academics and sharing some of our school's accomplishments with you. Centennial is proud to honor 3 National Merit Scholars this year, more than any of the other Big 6 schools, Renaissance excluded. Nancy Johnson, Lawson Rock, and Madeline Smith will represent Centennial this year. Additionally, 28 students from Centennial have earned the STEM diploma out of 158 students district-wide.
Atira Suresh, featured on the left, graduated this past spring from Centennial. She is one of 2 2025 U.S. Presidential Scholars chosen to represent Idaho. She scored a 35 on her ACT, took 16 AP classes, 4 dual credit classes, and was our school's valedictorian.
Speaking of AP classes, Centennial students consistently score above the passing rate of a 3. We offer 22 AP classes at Centennial, and last year we took 365 exams. The average score across all tests was a 3.5 with 79% passing rate. Half our AP classes also had a 100% pass rate, which was pretty awesome.
Centennial was the only Big 6 school to show growth on the math ISET test this spring. Our math scores increased by 2% and our English scores increased by 5%. Centennial also has an amazing ML staff that provides service for our multilingual learner population. This includes English development classes for newcomers and classes in ELA, math, and social studies. When looking at our access scores, our 60% of Centennial's ML students showed average to above average growth towards English language proficiency, while the district level was at 51%. The CHS community works hard to ensure our ML students are welcomed and empowered in their education.
Centennial also offers 5 different languages for all of our students, offering rigorous language instruction and meaningful cultural immersion. Our Japanese department has now been established for over 30 years, and we also have a great student exchange program with Germany, as well as opportunities for students to go to the native country for most of the languages at our high school.
We have 42 concurrent credit students in our advanced Spanish classes, and many of them will be taking the Seal of Biliteracy exam in the spring. Our 18 to 21 transition program is also hard at work building the social, interpersonal, and vocational skills that will carry students into adulthood with confidence. Our student council also frequently partners with that program for staff appreciation. This year they baked some delicious cookies from their Baking with Love program.
We're also very proud of our athletic and activity awards. We'd like to share a few with you tonight. Featured far left is Brian Champion, who was named 6A Baseball Coach of the Year last spring. Then we have Gabe Edens, who was named Boys Basketball 2025 SIC Player of the Year. In the middle, we have Steve Sosnowski, Centennial's new head football coach, who was inducted into the IHSSA Coaching Hall of Fame last summer. Brittany Brings was named District 3 Music Educator of the Year, and far right, we have Kelly Schmecka, who was Centennial's Teacher of the Year, as well as the District's Teacher of the Year.
This fall, our boys and girls cross country and swim teams both made appearances at state. The boys and girls cross country teams each took 7th place overall, and our swim team took their largest team to state with 6 swimmers competing in individual events. Mackenzie Harsh qualified for state in both cross country and swim this year, so that was quite the accomplishment.
The Centennial Mountain Bike team had completed their 10th season this year. They had over 70 student athletes and 31 coaches who made this season possible. They had multiple podiums over the season, all while giving back to the community through completing trail work with Ridge to Rivers.
We have many students representing Centennial in all state visual and performing arts, with 14 band students, 12 choir students, and 4 orchestra students. This past weekend at State Theater, we had 2 students finish at 4th place for costume design, 2 students that were finalists for makeup design, and 10 students that were finalists for ensemble musical theater, with Ellie Pratt also a finalist for solo musical theater. Furthermore, our 119-person ensemble played a 9.5-minute show with the hardest music Centennial has ever seen. At the D3 marching band competition and at the Harvest Festival, our band placed 4th, with our drum majors placing 2nd. And at the West Ada Clinic, our band won 1st place, so we love the energy they bring to every event.
At Centennial, we honor students and staff all throughout the year. This year, the Teacher Hubcap Award is given out to teachers who are taking educational risks and innovating instructional strategies to better the students they serve. Rebecca Metzler is the current recipient of the Hubcap Award.
Each week, our admin team also recognizes a staff member of the week in the weekly staff email. The honor alternates between certified and classified staff and is a way for staff to see their efforts are being acknowledged.
Speaking of acknowledgements, Centennial has rewarded 8,830 acknowledgements as of December 1st in the form of Pat Cash. When our staff sees students demonstrating the CHS traits of care, honor, and serve, they log an acknowledgement in Power BI and reward that student with Pat Cash. Pat Cash is an incentive-based electronic currency connected to students' IDs. Students are able to visit our Pat Cash store weekly to purchase items of their own choice. We're excited to draw our first raffle winners at this Friday's Winter Pep Rally on December 12th.
Our principal, Mr. Wilhite, visited with Abby this past Thursday as she stood in line to purchase some items from the Pat Cash store. She's one of our top earners, and not surprisingly, she even used some of her Pat Cash to buy some items for a friend. We are proud of Abby and our other CHS students that continue to demonstrate our values of care, honor, and serve. Additionally, our Student of the Week program gives students who have earned a Pat Cash an opportunity to win the randomly selected Student of the Week surprise. Winning students are visited in their classrooms, given a certificate, and are even featured on various social media platforms.
Last year, according to our student survey results, some parents felt like they weren't knowing about the great things happening at Centennial, and so we made a change. Now, weekly emails are sent home to parents and students when a student earns Pat Cash, and we're hoping strong conversations that occur at home, showing the parents all the amazing things that happen at Centennial each and every day.
Our student council is hard at work to support all the people that make Centennial shine. We have a committee each quarter dedicated to student and staff appreciation. During first quarter, Stuco hosted a soda bar for our staff and partnered with our boosters to provide a salad bar for parent-teacher conferences.
This quarter, we are now working on a holiday gift of simmer spices and a word art display for each staff member. We also made a word art display for each of you guys to show our appreciation for what you do for our district.
Another focus of our Stuco team is community outreach. Our goal is to plan one community event each quarter. For our first event, the Trunk or Treat, we had seniors decorate 20 cars and had games and tattoo stations for the kids who visited us, with Durham Transportation also joining us. We also held a clothing drive during this event, and we were happy to make our donation to our local homeless shelter.
For quarter 2, we are in the midst of planning our winter outreach event called Winter Wonderland. This event will be held this Saturday, December 13th. We've invited other clubs to participate with us, such as Sources of Strength and NHS. And we're trying to create a fun morning for all the families and children in our community.
Our PBS team put out a survey to all Centennial students. We learned that 69% of all the respondents are currently participating in or are planning to participate in sports, clubs, or other activities at Centennial this year. We are proud of this number because we believe in the power extracurriculars bring to student growth.
Our attempt to get that number even closer to 100, though, is that our student council hosts our annual club rush. During this event, it takes place at the beginning of the year to showcase all the great events and clubs we have to offer. This year, 17 clubs participated in our club rush, and one of our very own rock bands performed at it.
Centen Bold / Sources of Strength has been very active during the first semester. They honored our athletes in fall sports at our homecoming assembly. They hosted the mental health advocacy football game this fall and also celebrated positive friendships through the donut gifting sale in October. This month, they are helping host a blood drive for Red Cross.
Centennial also houses a school pantry, and with items that students in need can go shop for if they ever need anything during their time at school. The pantry is also providing complete turkey dinners, sparkling cider, and gift cards for 30 of our families as part of our 8th annual turkey extravaganza. Everything the pantry does is made possible from generous donors like St. Luke's Internal Medicine, a 3-time supporter, CHS departments, individual staff members, and clubs and sports teams.
This year, our Stuco went to the IASC State Student Council Conference in Moscow for the first time. We brought the presidents of each grade and spent 2 days collaborating with schools from all over the state. We are working to bring the entire student council next year and complete the OSC and Nat Stuco applications for further recognition for all the amazing things we do.
Thank you for listening. We're so proud of our school, and we're glad we get to share it with you, and we can't wait for all the amazing things we're going to do. Have a great night.
Thank you so much. And as we just did, if anybody you'd like to invite up from Centennial, we'll take a quick picture. In the spirit of celebration, I would like to bring up Chief Human Resources Officer Renee Senander to talk a little bit about Eagle Middle School recommendation.
All right. Good evening, Chair Frazier, trustees, Superintendent Dr. Bubb. I want to begin by first acknowledging the incredible Eagle Middle School presence here tonight. Thank you for being here this evening for this principal recommendation. Your turnout is a reminder that this herd of Colts shows up strong, united, and committed to the success of your school community. So thank you for being here. After 25 years of dedicated service, we extend our appreciation to Principal Giannetti, who made the decision to step away from his role to pursue an opportunity within the district that allowed him to focus on himself and family. And during the transition, Tyler Pence, current assistant principal at Rocky Mountain High School, stepped in as interim principal. We're grateful for his leadership and his steady support while we conducted our search for the next principal. Thank you, Tyler. I'm honored to introduce Mr. Eric McCassin-Hahn as the recommended candidate for principal of Eagle Middle School. Mr. McCassin-Hahn joined West Ada School District in July 2024, bringing with him a background that spans teaching, coaching, and administrative leadership. Most recently, served as the assistant principal of achievement at Eagle High School. What stood out about Mr. McCassin-Hahn is his firsthand experience from Eagle High, giving him a unique understanding of what our Colts need to be successful as future Mustangs. We look forward to seeing the positive impact that his leadership has at Eagle Middle School. Mr. McCassin-Hahn does have a few words for you this evening and is ready to address any questions or comments you may have.
Good evening, Chair Frazier and valued board members. Thank you for the opportunity to introduce myself to you. I am blessed to become the next principal of Eagle Middle School to lead the staff, students, and families. I wouldn't be here today without the love and grace of God. I am blessed that He has given me the abilities and opportunities to serve students, staff, and families at 4 different schools throughout my 20 years in education as teacher, coach, athletic director, and assistant principal. I have seen the power of schools that provide exceptional educational experiences for their students. The most important lesson I have learned is that when you set high expectations, incredible things happen. If I had to summarize my educational philosophy in one sentence, it would be this: you can't high jump over a low bar. In West Ada, we ask our students to set their goals high. As a community, we strive to help them achieve these goals. We are not satisfied with taking the easy road. We ask ourselves how we can constantly grow and improve. My professional experience in education began as a high school history teacher. My passion for student growth and opportunity to help teachers grow led me to pursue administration. Throughout my 8 years as an assistant principal, I have focused on collaborating with teachers to build upon their strengths and improve their craft. I value the importance of school data that brings about clarity in student learning. I have seen over the past 2 years at Eagle High School the positive impact of a strong leader. I am thrilled to bring this knowledge to Eagle Middle School. I have a unique perspective from working in K-12 and 6-12 schools throughout the first 18 years of my career. I have experienced and implemented crucial strategies to ensure smooth transition for students between elementary school and middle school and high school. I have seen firsthand what it takes to be successful at Eagle High School. It will be my goal to prepare every Eagle Middle School Colt to be ready to thrive on the first day they become an Eagle High School Mustang. Thank you to Matt Giannetti for all his years of service to the Eagle Middle School community. Thank you to Tyler Pence and the Eagle Middle School Vice Principals Danny Daw and Brittany Dutton for your incredible work leading EMS through this transition period. Thank you to Eagle High School, Susan McInerney, the administrative team, teachers, counselors, and staff. You have been wonderful embracing me these past 2 years, and it has been an honor to work with all of you. Thank you to all the Eagle students and families. You are what makes me love my job. This is a special community that has high expectations and is willing to work to meet those expectations. And finally, I want to thank my family for supporting me in all that I do. My wife, Emily, and daughter, Olivia, are the most important things to me. My appreciation grows every day from middle school math teachers as I hear about Emily's daily adventures teaching middle school 7th grade math. Olivia is a 6th grader who constantly keeps us on our toes. I'm always impressed with the bravery and passion that she takes on new tasks. Although Emily and Olivia will now become my rivals at Star Middle School, I am so blessed to have them in my corner through everything. I am humbled and honored for this opportunity to lead Eagle Middle School. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I can't really welcome you to West Ada because you've already been here, but welcome to middle school.
Oh, thank you.
If you'd like to invite your family up and anyone else you choose to, we'll take a quick picture or a slow picture, whatever it takes. Thank you for everybody's patience with those pictures. I think they're important to show the district what's happening and the good people we have stepping up to do it. All right, next on our agenda will be patron input, and we do have 5 people signed up this evening. So as I always do, we'll just go over the housekeeping. We always keep it to policy procedure, high level, don't talk about any individual teacher, staff member, student, parent, anything like that, but we're always happy to hear of concerns or compliments. And patron input should also focus on specific agendized items. So even after I mention your name, if when you come up, you'd please state your name and specifically what you're speaking to on the agenda, that would be great. We will start with Mr. Robert Gillis.
Madam Chair, Dr. Bubb, board members, thank you for having me. It's been such a positive night. I want to talk about something a little bit more serious, but the enhanced safety plan that's being proposed, I came to strongly support it. The reason why I wanted to support it and Lieutenant Harper and Meridian PD's efforts into this is I have a daughter who is now still part of Eagle High School. She's a freshman. I had a son who was at Eagle High School. He's since graduated. On November 14th of 2019, I was a sergeant for the LA County Sheriff's Department, and I was one of first on scene of an active shooter in a high school. When I ran into that school, I had kids running past me in every direction. I rounded the corner into a quad area. I had 6 kids that were shot. My buddy was doing CPR on one of them, and I could not stop to do CPR on one of the other girls that was down because I had to bypass to look for the shooter. It took us a long time to clear the school. We were locked out of classrooms. We formed haphazard teams. I had CHP officers assigned to me, even though I was a sheriff's sergeant. I had a federal agent that was off duty in board shorts and flip-flops that had a gun that was with me, and we were trying to find the injured that were sporadically disseminated around the school where they all ran to. We had problems getting into the school. There are issues that arise when these active shooter incidents happen. I believe that what Meridian PD is proposing, especially with the technology, with the training, strongly support it. I hope that you guys truly consider it. We are in an era of these active shootings happening more and more and more. Audrey Hale was the active shooter at Nashville at Covenant School. She shot her way into the school. Adam Lanza shot his way into Sandy Hook Elementary School. We know what happened. Our SROs are awesome, but they can't be there all the time. We have to have another layer of safety and security for our students and our staff members, and it's for all of them across the board. So I just ask that you please seriously consider and support, if possible, this item and this technology. It would be a great asset to your district for sure. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, if Ms. Carmi Scheller, please, would come up.
Ooh. Sorry, I might need a minute. Not for my thing, but that. Sorry, Carmi Scheller. I teach at Star Elementary. And thank you, Chair Frazier, trustees, Dr. Bubb, executive team, and our law enforcement representatives. I'm addressing the safety items on the agenda this evening. As a member of the policy group of the West Ada Education Association, an employee and a parent, I appreciate the time and thoughtfulness that have been spent in developing the Sentinel program. In my 35 years as an educator, I've experienced the shift from safety concerns being about the facilities, scheduling, events, and the occasional student or adult of concern, to a time when disruptive events and tragic mass casualty events occur in the places our communities should expect to be a safe haven for our youth. I've heard the call to arm education staff and felt sickness as I thought about the reality of what this could look like for myself and the hundreds of educators I've known over those 35 years. I've considered the level of initial training and ongoing training required to place guns in our classrooms with people that are making hundreds to thousands of decisions daily and balancing frequently overwhelming tasks of educating their students. I considered the accidents that could occur. I've considered the reality others in this nation have lived and will be impacted by forever. And with all of this and more in mind, I want to clearly state that these programs present a responsible way of increasing the opportunity to respond to the escalations in our unsafe world while mitigating many of the concerns we expressed as the program was being developed. I urge everyone to read the details, consider that local decisions and programs are developed with local realities as the parameters for the design of the program. I applaud the arming of all staff on the grounds with the wearable alert technology system. This is absolutely the kind of proactive approach to responding to any incident on our campuses that all staff should have the responsibility to wield. I appreciate the year of work collaborating to consider safety of our school communities these agenda items represent, and I really truly believe that a wearable will probably save someone's life in the next year. I just do. Thank you.
All right, next, I believe it says Gina Hart, is that correct? Oh, James, I apologize. He writes a really fancy cursive name, so patience, it's lovely. Pardon me. Yeah, pardon me. It's actually very calligraphy. It's very pretty.
It's a weird font.
Weird font, okay, so 2 minutes. First of all, my name is James Hart. I'm a parent of 2 kids in the West Ada School District, with another having graduated just recently, and I first want to say how grateful I am to all of you for the efforts that you've made on behalf of my kids and all the other kids in West Ada. I have nothing but good things to say about their education, the experiences they've had. I come here tonight not only as a parent, but in full transparency as a vendor who also provides violence prevention solutions for schools and for businesses. And I do so just to share, quite frankly, some concerns about what I have read, and so I'll do that very quickly. I endorse the plan. Bolstering our response to these events is critical. However, any safety plan that does not include and focus on prevention, specifically as defined by the FBI, U.S. Department of Homeland Security, the Secret Service, and others, is, in my mind, incomplete and leaves our students and our school communities at risk. Here are the facts. 95% of these things happen in middle and high schools. It's a student, almost exclusively, who is perpetrating the attack. These are inside threats, not outside threats. 100% of these attackers display concerning behaviors up to 2 years in advance of the event. 90% of the time or more, those behaviors are displayed at school, and more than 90% of the time the behaviors are seen by other students, with 75% of the behaviors being observed by staff and teachers. We have time. We know exactly what the behaviors are. And the U.S. Department of Homeland Security has simply said the prescription for prevention is to create awareness, a willingness to report, to have a reporting and triage mechanism, to have threat assessment capabilities. The issue is that with Sentinel and with panic buttons, those are response exclusively. They will not prevent an attack. Why? Because as much as we think that having more guns in a school might prevent somebody from coming in, the reality is this is their end-of-life scenario, and so they don't care. And so I'll wrap, but I just want to emphasize that I am not endorsing what I have read. I commend you all for the investment and the time and effort to putting this plan in place. However, it is a fact that without behavioral awareness training specifically focused on the students, it's an incomplete plan. Thank you.
Mr. Jeffrey Watkins.
Madam Chair, Board of Trustees, Dr. Bubb. My name is Jeffrey Watkins. I teach at Meridian Academy. I'm speaking just to the wearable alert technology. I'm personally in support of it. I think there's a lot of great points that will be made about responding quickly to things, but I also want to illustrate it's a better way to respond more privately to things. I've had a lot of things happen in my classroom where it's like, hey, I need to notify somebody, but I don't want to get on the phone in front of the whole class to notify it. So my option is go to another classroom while there's something major happening in my classroom. It'd be much easier to have that private alert to get attention to my room. Who knows if my principal is watching his email, if I send him an email. I don't want to pick up the phone and have all of my students understand what's going on when it might be something like, hey, I was just told that a student has alcohol in their bag. That's not something I want to get on the phone, but that would be something that's worth bringing security to the classroom to subtly pull that student out of the classroom instead of making a scene. So wanted to point that out as a potential application. Thank you.
All right, Ms. Julie Edwards.
I am Julie Edwards, Chair Frazier, trustees, and Dr. Bubb. So I read the email, watched the video, and one thing about the safety program. And the thing that I thought was missing from it was the cost. There was no mention of cost anywhere. I don't know if that's something that we'll talk about later tonight. But I was curious about that. The wearable alert badge sounds pretty great, especially for, like the teacher was saying, you know, just those situations that are a little more sensitive and you don't want to make a scene. So I'm all for that. Not in favor at the moment for the Sentinel program, just because the SROs are armed, are they not? Yes. So having somebody with plainclothes, concealed weapon, yet you want them interacting sort of regularly with the students. Maybe in elementary school the kids wouldn't catch on, but middle school, high school, I mean, the kids are gonna know within a week who that man, who that lady is. They're gonna know that they have a weapon on them. I don't know if that would make them more uncomfortable. I don't see the point of hiding the weapon if they have one. Plus I don't really, I mean, the SROs, I feel like, okay, they have a weapon, fine. I don't know how many people we need in a building with a gun. And as the police officer on the video is saying about reaction time, you know, it's 3 to 5 minutes before the police can get there, or 5 minutes. And if you're in a high school and the Sentinel is on one end of the campus, well, it might take them 3 to 5 minutes to get to the other side of the campus as well. So I don't know how effective it would be. You know, it may help a bit, but I don't know. It's more of a prevention thing too. You know, in high school, I think it's really difficult because you have kids coming and going all day. They're going to portables, they're going to seminary, they're going to CTE. So there's a lot of doors opening and closing constantly. And I know when I was in high school, you know, you'd just walk in the building and hold the door for that adult that was behind you, or that kid that was behind you. And they didn't need a pass to get in because you just held the door for them. So I don't really know what the answer is, but I think this is a good start, but that it's not a complete answer yet. But the badges, I think, are great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, that concludes our patron input. Thank you all so much for taking the time to do that. I know that can be a little intimidating, so we really do appreciate your feedback. That takes us to consent agenda. I'm open to a motion. Trustee Benetti,
I move that we accept the consent agenda unanimously.
is there a second? Trustee Redford.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. That takes us to new business, and we will begin with the Enhanced Campus Safety Plan, which will be presented by Marcus Myers, our Chief Academic Officer, with assistance from Sean Harper, our Lieutenant, Meridian Police Department, that helps us as an SRO.
All right, good evening, Madam Chair, trustees, and Superintendent Dr. Bob. Thank you for the opportunity to discuss our Enhanced Campus Safety Plan. In West Ada, we are committed to systems of support. You have seen the left portion of this slide before. This is academic leadership's purpose statement and presents the why behind our enhanced plan this evening. West Ada, as we've discussed, establishes non-negotiable system structures and instructional practices. We do this to ensure that every student has access to high-quality teaching, a supportive learning environment, and the academic and behavioral supports necessary to maximize growth. To ensure these systems, we must also be committed to safe and secure learning environments. These safe and secure environments work to protect students, staff, and patrons, so high levels of learning can be the primary focus. In doing so, we are steadfast in our commitment to protect the children we serve, and the staff that serve our children are our greatest assets. It is this commitment to protect that is exemplified by our safety and behavior teams, both at the district and building levels each and every day. I'd like to recognize Jeff Stans, he's seated behind me, our Director of Safety and Behavior, who leads a team dedicated to this commitment. The team's ongoing efforts to provide safe learning environments are remarkable, as is the partnership developed with our local law enforcement over these past many years. Tonight is a culmination of these efforts. I also want to recognize the safety and security efforts by our building teams, students, and patrons. Our teachers and administrators remain vigilant in protecting our greatest assets, and together we build cultures of safety and awareness. We perform drills and audits with remarkable results and continue to take every safety measure, both proactive and reactive, with the seriousness it deserves. Our safety and security measures fall under two pillars at all locations. One pillar is proactive measures focused on deterrence. These measures include locked interior and exterior doors, school safety personnel on all campuses, education for students, staff, and patrons, and law enforcement partnerships for incident response and training. Through rapid response measures, we plan for and practice responses to crises as a second pillar. We participate in coordination with local law enforcement and community response agencies and conduct emergency drills. Our discussion tonight focuses on these two layers that enhance these safety and security measures. These layers are wearable alert technology and campus sentinels. We first start with wearable alert technology. The focus of this technology is to enhance our ability to immediately respond to an incident through a small, discrete device that all West Ada employees will carry. In fact, I'm carrying a demo device on me now. This is my West Ada ID, and it's about the same size, a little thicker. It weighs very little and could also be worn around the neck as a lanyard. This easy-to-use device allows for any employee to quickly communicate a medical, behavior, or security need. It sends a request for immediate safety support to the school and district safety team. The device includes a mapping feature accessible by school and district safety teams and law enforcement first responders. The mapping feature pinpoints the exact location, time, and staff member alerting the event. It should be noted that badges only track its location and respond to incidences within the school's property geofence. These fences include the building itself, but also gyms, auditoriums, and athletic facilities. The design, which you can see here, minimizes accidental alerts with an inset button that requires very purposeful activation. At this time, I'd like to demonstrate the process and reasons why an alert may be activated. The first system in response is a 3-button push. Now, when you push this 3 times, and I'm literally going to do that, there's an audible tone to this. It also alerts the building, and there's a series of visual displays using lights that recognize that we have a medical, behavior, or mental health support response that's needed. This triggers a response alert to the school safety team. That school safety team is typically composed of the building administration, security, and health services. By doing that, it might put the school into hall check, but it definitely alerts teams to a direct location where that additional support is needed. It also allows us to track data and to track incidences from across the district so that we can proactively respond and provide additional response post-incident. The next piece is an 8-button push, and I'm going to get into more details about this one because although it says 8+ button push, the training associated with this is to get you and your students safe and then continue to push the button until it's activated. Counting to 8 isn't the purpose of that, but it does require 8 for that since the severity of the incident require a higher level degree of pushing that button. It's intended to be a high level security alert. I'd like to compare that to the current process we have in place now in which we alert through a phone system or through a button push system in a main office after teachers have practiced and students have practiced rehearsing, barricading their doors to provide safety, getting themselves to a safe location in the classroom or exiting the classroom, and then dialing a button for assistance. This would allow that to happen in a safe space while conducting all of those pieces of safety, while pushing this at the same time and activating that immediately. That 8+ button push triggers a response alert to the district and school safety team. That same safety team referred to in the 3-button push, but it expands out to a district incident command team that we have available and ready here at district office, to all students, staff, and importantly, local law enforcement, which generates that announcement and notification through dispatch, then to our patrol officers, our SROs, and those first responders who would be at the school. It also provides them a graphed map of the location so that they can report directly to the incident location itself, rather than referring to maps that we provide within the main office, where they have to locate and be familiar with that building. Now, that is true when we're talking about our SROs and those working directly with us, but oftentimes those first responders are patrol officers or medical response who might not know necessarily exactly where to go within the school and are unfamiliar with the school, but do know that an incident has occurred somewhere on campus. It is likely in that incident to trigger a lockdown. Those are safety responses that we practice often throughout the course of the year to ensure that we can remain vigilant. The second layer of enhancing our campus safety plan is Campus Sentinels, which also comes before you tonight as a policy reading that will take place next. The goal of the Campus Sentinel policy and program is prevention and deterrence of threats by increasing law enforcement presence on campus. These are West Ada employees who are retired, former, and current certified law enforcement officers. Campus Sentinels, who are peace officer standards and trained, would provide a visible and highly skilled security presence on our campus and add an enhanced layer of safety with our current SRO and school security teams. It is essential that through the policy, we hire Sentinels with the skills and understanding to provide a layer of security for all children and staff at our schools. As such, the hiring screening process is rigorous and well-defined in the proposed policy. Training specific to school locations is rigorous, and response to incidences are also well-defined in that same proposed policy. Training will take place annually in partnership with law enforcement and will focus on the prevention and response skills needed to provide safety and security at our schools. At this time, I'd like to introduce you to Lieutenant Sean Harper with the Meridian Police Department. Before he discusses the Campus Sentinel and SRO programs with you, I want to take a moment to share our greatest appreciation for him and our ongoing partnership with Meridian Police Department and our law enforcement agencies. I can attest that Lieutenant Harper's dedication to safety and secure schools is admirable, and I appreciate his collaboration in drafting the policy and safety enhancements before you this evening. But with that, Lieutenant Harper.
Madam Chair, Board of Trustees, good evening. Thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure to get up in front of you guys and talk about school safety. I recognize a lot of faces that are up here. You guys know my passion behind keeping kids safe. So I'll kind of go into a little bit about myself, just so you guys know about me. I've been with Meridian a little over 21 years. I'm also a father of 2 West Ada, well, one graduated, one current junior at Rocky. So been in this community. Our kids were born and raised here. Started at Pioneer Elementary, which was a great school that was kind of fostered from a previous superintendent many years ago. As I've served in this community, I've had a lot of opportunities to do a lot of different things. I've worked criminal investigations. I've obviously worked with the SROs for almost 15 years, and I've been involved in tactical operations throughout the valley for nearly 2 decades. As we talk more, I've prepared lots of notes. In 2012 is when I was first introduced to the SRO unit. We were much smaller than we are today because the expectation not only of West Ada but of our community was to put well-trained SROs in our schools, not only to provide that security and safety presence, but also engage with youth and build strong relationships. When I first got into this job with the SROs, I was a sergeant, didn't really know much about what I was getting into, but quickly fell in love with it. I also have a background as an adjunct professor, so I'm very passionate about academia. So it was a perfect fit. As time went on, I quickly realized that we had something special. We had a good partnership between the district and the police department, which is not everywhere. As you've seen in the media across the country, we've had some challenging times, but one thing that's held strong here is that partnership, which has really brought a lot of success not only to our schools, but to our community. There was some things that I knew that we could improve on. There was still work to do in our emergency preparedness, our facilities, as well as training. So over time, with obviously the support of the West Ada family, we moved forward and we did a lot of great things. Starting out with, from a grassroots approach, we built ISCRS, the Idaho Standard Command Responses for Schools. Idaho built, Idaho developed, Idaho implemented for all students across the state. It is now in about 60% of our schools around the state. It's a volunteer thing, but it's something that was built homegrown, and it really started because we had the support of you all, and that was a huge piece. From there, we moved on to a good visitor management system. That was something that we didn't have for a long, long time. And again, that provided another layer of safety and security in our schools. From there, we moved on to what can we do to improve our physical safety of our buildings. And as Jeff stands in the back of the room, one of my greatest partners over many, many years, we pressed forward. We figured out with the support of the board on how to fund it, because it's not cheap, but we knew that we had to make sure that our schools were safe places for students to be, teachers to teach, students to learn. So we made lots of improvements by reducing accessibility into our campuses, improving our security systems, our camera systems, our panic buttons. I mean, it just has kept going on in the right direction. It's been really great to see. So obviously I'm now, 15 years into this, and here we are today with a couple of other excellent programs. The wearable technology is a huge piece. I know I'm here to speak about the Sentinel side, but I have to add in my piece about that. When we are responding to any type of emergency, which a lot of times is medical or the 3-button push, lower scale, a lot of times we don't know where it's occurring. Yes, the SROs know our schools very well, but a lot of times our SROs can't always be everywhere. We have 59 campuses, about right? 59 campuses are close to it. We don't have 59 SROs, nor could we afford 59 SROs. But with this technology, it is going to better assist us in our response on where to go when we get to that campus. So you're going to get a more rapid response, and you're going to get our officers on scene dealing with whatever those problems are in a shorter amount of time. So that is a really big piece, because I think a lot of times we expect, well, there's going to be an SRO there. Well, SROs get called to court. SROs are husbands, mothers, parents. Things go on in life, and they can't always be at work every single day. And this is where this Sentinel program, which I'm going to talk a little bit about here shortly, really comes into play. Over the last many, many years, hiring law enforcement in this valley has become a challenge. It's a much more expensive place to live, but also we have very high standards for the police officers that we are looking for in this valley. Not being able to hire, we have a lot of retirements coming up, but those challenges affect our SROs moving forward, because we have to be able to hire high-quality police officers who have the interest in the future to become school resource officers. So with the Sentinel program, it truly brings the next layer of school security to the forefront. It's something that we've been missing. Superintendent Bubb, about 3 years ago, brought this idea back from a national conference. Am I accurate? Can't believe I still can remember 3 years ago. But anyways, he brought this idea back, and he spoke with Mr. Stans, who then quickly reached out to me, and we started having conversations. Again, that doesn't happen without first building very strong relationships between your law enforcement partners and your school districts. So those calls were made, and now 3 years later, we're in front of you hoping to get your support in this program. With this program, again, it gives us the ability to properly train and arm school safety personnel into our schools, and the bigger thing is to assist us. We're not trying to hire more school resource officers. These are West Ada employees who are well-trained, former, current, or retired law enforcement who have already a skill set that they can bring to enhance this program. The training piece, fortunately I was allowed to be a big part of that thanks to Jeff, and we're gonna expect a lot, because if we're gonna put people in our schools protecting our children and our faculty, we have to make sure that we have a very robust training program and an ongoing training program. It's not a one and done, because education, the school environment is constantly changing and evolving, and so does the Sentinel program, so does the SROs, so we have to be prepared. Can I get the next slide? So here's the difference. Because I've been reading the, not the surveys, but stuff posted online, because I'm curious. I want to see where people stand with this. And I think, again, providing and educating people on really what this program is about will help people make the decision, whether it's one side or the other. But I think there needs to be clarity to truly understand that the Sentinel is not an SRO. Their jobs are very, very different, and has been finally done up here on this slide. The biggest thing is we can hire and train quality Sentinels, but we need to make sure that they're the right Sentinels. There's ones that enjoy being around children. They want to build relationships. They want to engage with young people, because our void at times with our SROs, I'm not going to give specific grade levels, but we have at different buildings, we have challenges where we can't be all the time. And this really provides that layer to where we know that we can have somebody there that can provide safety and security on that campus. The shield versus the badge, I think the clarity of that is the Sentinel will look like any other employee within the West Ada School District. There's not going to be any assigned uniform or anything like that. It'll be plain clothes, as we call it, and they'll be wearing an ID badge just like every other student and or teacher is expected to wear each and every day. So they will look like any one of us, well, not me, because this is obviously different, where the SROs are uniformed personnel, and it's very clear what we do. SROs, we have them assigned to specific locations. We have one at every high school, every middle school, and they rotate between geographically assigned elementary schools. With this, again, the Sentinels will be able to fill those gaps, fill those voids where we can't be. And I can tell you, not only as a parent, but as law enforcement, I have heard time and time again of the importance that all of our schools have some sort of capability to protect children. Highly trained, again, we're hopefully going to be able to select people, if this program is approved, that come with prior training. But they are going to receive, and I'm sure you guys have had time to read through this very lengthy policy, there is very, very good training that they will also be put through. From emergency preparedness all the way down to high-level firearms training, to mental health, to de-escalation, to you name it, we're going to put them through it. Because day to day, we're not dealing with active shooters. We're dealing with medical emergencies, behavioral issues, mental health, all of these other things that still are emergencies and still jeopardize people's safety at times. but they will be prepared for the worst. School radios. Our SROs carry school radios, and they carry this radio that you see right here. So they're kind of carrying multiple communication systems. All Sentinels will carry school radios. That's another big advancement throughout the district. We have plenty of radios available. That wasn't the case 10 years ago. We were sharing and passing them from campus to campus to make it work. But communication is critical, not only for the Sentinel, but them to be able to communicate to administrators or teachers if there is any type of emergency or concern. We already talked about the attire. So I want to address a little bit that was brought up by somebody who came up previously. One of the benefits of Sentinels 2 is another set of eyes and ears that we are going to work very closely with and make sure that that relationship is strong. They understand our expectations and we understand theirs. And by including us in the creation of this program, it will really help us as we move forward, hopefully with the approval down the road, to train with the Sentinels so they clearly understand what it is the SROs do and what we expect day to day. Because again, they are not police officers. They are former police officers, some are current police officers, but at the end of the day, the school administration and the SROs are responsible, they're in charge. One of the big benefits of Sentinels, again, another eyes and ears, but another person. We talked about piggybacking. I heard that comment of, you hold the door open and you let all the kids in. Part of that starts with having a strong culture, safety culture, and climate in each campus. And I think West Ada, each campus I go to, some are phenomenal, but overall, we have done a really good job of holding our administrators to that standard. But again, a Sentinel, what a great person to have in the morning when everybody's coming in to school. We make sure they come in through a main entryway as another set of eyes and ears to be there to welcome students, welcome staff, watch behavior, look for IDs because we try to make sure they're all wearing them visibly. So again, you got a deterrent piece, but also a safety piece. Overall, I'm really excited for the future of this. I really think overall, once people are more educated on really what it's all about, we're going to see support here in Meridian specifically, and I'll stand for any questions. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much.
We'll do questions. I'm just going to wrap up here
Oh, okay.
momentarily. Thank you, though. Thanks, sir. All right. Thank you, Lieutenant Harbor. In summary, our enhanced campus safety plan layers upon our reactive and proactive measures already in place to ensure our schools can continue dedication to be safe places to learn. I want to thank everyone that has provided feedback through our survey so far. Your input is valued and will be used when considering further policy revisions by the committee. We will use your input and those questions to design information shared at further policy readings. The survey continues to remain open and we want your feedback. As of today at 3:30 p.m., we had 910 survey responses. We asked participants to rate their level of comfort with both parts of the enhanced campus safety plan. A 5 indicates the highest level of comfort and a 1 rating is the lowest. As of 3:30, the average response rate for wearable alert technology is 4.4, and of that, 659 responses were at a level 5 and 63 were at a level 1. Campus Sentinel's average response rating is 3.5, and of that, 514 responses were at a level 5 and 277 responses were at a level 1. With that, you have our appreciation, trustees, and to both Lieutenant Harper and I will stand for any questions or for further considerations you'd like for us to bring back to the Policy Review Committee. Thank you.
All right, thank you. We'll first start by thanking Lieutenant Harper and all the work that our law enforcement has done and does every day to keep our schools safe. We recognize that it's been a year and a half that this has been under review and talked about, and that has not been a small feat. So thank you very much for the time you spent on this. And thank you, Mr. Myers, as well, for your leadership in this, and to everyone that sat on policy committee, all the input from the Teachers Association and various members of the community, as well as everyone that's filled out the survey. We really do appreciate it and are listening. With that, I will open it up to comments or questions. Trustee Benetti.
Point of information, are we going to discuss the wearable technology first since there's an action item, and then we can discuss Sentinels afterwards?
Yes, I think that's an excellent idea. Let's start with wearable alert technology first, discussion on that. Thank you for clarifying that. Any comments? Trustee Benetti? Vice Chair Zuna.
Thank you, Madam Chair. You know, the one thing, I think the strongest comment that I see against the wearable technology is around the budget. And what else could we do with the budget there? You mentioned, Lieutenant Harper, that, you know, SROs are expensive. And if we did have the budget for that, could we fill those positions? I mean, you mentioned it's hard to hire in the Valley and we have high expectations. What are the unique challenges of finding someone that's a good fit to be an SRO?
Madam Chair, Trustee Ozuna, it's harder and harder because we can't just put any police officer inside of a school. We've got to find the right personality, the right passion, the right person to fill those roles. Again, hiring and retention, we're all feeling it regardless of the profession, but it's really hitting us pretty significantly. We're coming up, I'm roughly under 5 years left, and I'm going to be the tail end of the COPS grant that started about 30 years ago, and they're projecting over 100,000 police officers to retire across the country. There's no way you're going to be able to replace that in any timely manner. But again, the training that goes, we need to first hire, train, and make sure a police officer can be a good police officer on the streets before we can then bring them into a school environment. It is expensive as we work contracts and we're doing dollars and cents, and this is a sensible approach. It's a creative approach. It's not the first district in the country to do this, but it's very challenging. It gets harder and harder to find people that want to do this job day in and day out inside of a school because it's a lot of work. It's spot fires all day long, and a lot of times you're wearing your parent hat, you're wearing your social worker hat, you're wearing your educator hat, you're wearing lots of hats all day long. So it is challenging, but we're seeing this across the valley, and Superintendent Bub can speak on that if he would like, but it's a tough task, and we're always looking for the right person. If it's not the right fit, we're not bringing them on, because again, a big part of this is building relationships with kids, building strong relationships in our community, and all it takes is one wrong person that you put in that environment to tear something down.
All right, I have a question actually kind of pertaining to piggybacking on what Vice Chair Zuna said. So when we talk about the cost involved with it, I was thinking about it, and an SRO I think runs us right around 100,000 without the help that we get from Meridian. Is that accurate, or is that still low? 120? I mean, I know we pay half of that now, but if we were to hire more, it would be 100 plus. Is that right?
Madam Chair, that's accurate.
Yes. So let's say 8 is what we could hire for $1 million. So with that, I'm thinking, how many employees do we have in West Ada? Isn't it right around 2,500? Is that accurate?
That is correct.
And would all of those 2,500 have access to this wearable technology?
Yes, they would.
Madam Chair, just point of clarification, 2,500 classified certificated employees. We have about 4,500 employees in all. So it's really 4,500 to that point, 4,500 employees that would have the ability to have a wearable device.
And Lieutenant Harper, with that, again, with what we've talked about today, there is, of course, worst-case scenarios that are always talked about, but it sounds like, from some of the testimony we've heard, that there are some very legitimate uses for that on the day-to-day. Did I understand that correctly?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Other questions? Trustee Benetti?
Yeah, I think with regard to the cost, when you're looking at $9,000 per site, it's $500,000 per year, and it's really apples and oranges in terms of when you're comparing it against SROs, because they have to respond to something. And just having missed a flight not so long ago, I took out my phone and I had to try to secure a new flight and I was so nervous I couldn't text what I needed to text. And I'm thinking to myself, I just missed a flight. What if you're in a frantic situation? That whole concept of I'm just pressing this as much as I can and then have the cavalry arrive, to me is, particularly when you're looking at it in terms of the number of members per site, not to mention all the other things that we're asking people to do, they're under this stressful situation. And I also remember that when I was, training to do the substituting, like there's this number and it was sort of on a Post-it note and it was flipped underneath the thing, and don't dial it unless it's this type of situation. We've had situations where people have had false alarms because they dialed it not knowing what it was, and then you have to remember it, and then you have to do this while you're doing all the other things. And that $9,000 is per site. So if you think about it having, whatever it is, 100 different potential locations within that, then that goes down to $90 per ability to have an incident. So for me, that's money extremely well spent. But it's apples and oranges. It's not SROs or this. You're still going to need resources to be able to respond to it, whether it's your administration coming to deal with a behavioral issue or medical issue, or whether it's an SRO coming to a more serious issue or sentinel. They still need to be able to be notified of that, and reducing that when seconds really, really, really matter. The ability to just press a button, like right here, right now, as opposed to having to go across the room, look at the sticky note, fumble with the phone as your fingers are freezing up because they're so excited. That's the resources, I think, are extremely well spent. That was my comment to that. I have a question, if you'd still like me to keep going. So the concern that I have is potentially around service level agreements and location, because we've been talked about and how valuable it is to have location. But is this an actual tracking device? Is it tracking everybody in real time, or is it only providing location information when it's activated?
Madam Chair, Trustee, it is only providing location information within that geofence.
So it's not like tracking the people who are wearing them. It's not maintaining that PII. It's when it's pressed, it sends the location. And otherwise, it's just inert until pressed.
Trustee, that is correct.
Okay, that puts my mind much more at ease. Do we know anything about the false positive or false negative rates of these and other instances where they've been employed?
Absolutely, Madam Chair, Trustee. Although we don't have that specific data in terms of number of false, we have reached out during this process to other districts who are using this technology, and their false rates are significantly lower because of the design of the device itself, and are significantly lower than false alarms that already occur within our district.
Got it. That's excellent. How are they tested on an ongoing basis? Is there a positive response in the sense that when they fail, are we notified that they fail, or do we have to test them on occasion? And if so, what does that testing process look like?
No, Madam Chair, Trustees, as part of that purchase, it also comes with a command center who oversees these devices themselves and oversees the system. If the device fails, if it runs low on battery because they have a 2-year battery rather than a charge process for them, it alerts that command center. They send an immediate replacement for that. They alert us to that system, and they fix it.
About how heavy is it?
Madam Chair, Trustees, it's probably 3 times the width of my badge or of my ID, and less than
even where it doesn't have, there's no
an
discomfort.
ounce, maybe less than that, no discomfort whatsoever. It's hanging right.
Here,
So
Trustee
the
Benetti,
expectation-
let's let someone else ask another question if we could.
I
Is that-
apologize.
Yeah, is that all right? Are there other questions or comments? I saw a couple. Vice Chair Zuna, and we'll get back to you, Trustee Benetti.
Thanks. I have one more. Mr. Myers, excluding the 8+, the major emergency, but when we're talking about just medical emergencies and increased behaviors that we have, do you anticipate that this will be used like daily? Not necessarily daily at a single school, but across our district? Do we have that many of these types of emergencies?
Madam Chair, Trustee, we do. So everything from medical emergencies, where we need to respond during, say, a recess or an athletic event, or something takes place on a playground and we need a team to be able to respond outside. Currently within that process, we use a radio, or we ask another staff member to head to the office and inform, or a student runner to go head to the office and inform. That response rate is dramatically decreased because we can press that button and a team arrives. We do have a number of radios in our district that are very high quality radios. We don't have a radio though for every single staff member, and so that provides this communication tool right away to be able to get that response. While out on duty, during an athletic event, during a training, we bring in 400 or 500 teachers during a training, and if an event were to occur, if I have my wearable alert badge or ID, it will work in any location, not necessarily my home location or where I'm teaching from. If I go to an athletic event for my child's sporting event after school, I'll be able to use that to alert emergency response.
Other questions? Trustee Redford.
I just have a comment that I think this is really cool. I'm in support of it. Kind of did some basic math. If we're looking at $1 million, right? We have roughly 39,000 students and 4,500 employees. That comes down to less than $25 per person for this. What's the cost of a life? You know, $25 is not very much. I think it's great value for the service and the need that it fulfills.
Other comments or questions? Dr. Bubb?
Madam Chair, trustees, I want to go back to the conversation around false alarms. And I think one of the things that's really critical here is an 8-push false alarm. As I spoke to superintendents of comparable sized districts around the United States that have adopted this system, an 8-push false alarm is very rare. A 3-push could happen more often, but that really entails, I love our administrators and our emergency response team, but that really entails our emergency response team showing up to a classroom and saying, hey, we got a 3-button push. Tell us a little bit that doesn't change the educational environment. It doesn't do any of those things. What it does is it tells everybody to go to this location. An 8-button response, we do know that this has been employed in areas where tragedies have happened. And when the police get 9 8-button responses in a given area of a school, they know right away that's not a false alarm. That is a real alarm. This is the real thing. We need to get as many law enforcement officers as possible to respond. So just something that, and I heard that repeatedly from superintendents, and that itself, one of the superintendents said they had one false alarm, and it was actually a food nutrition specialist who was in line to pick up her daughter in school line, and it hit, and it was response of 3. They only had 1 in the 1 year that they had put this in. So I don't think it's as common as telephone that happens often.
Other comments or questions? Trustee Benetti?
Yeah, so just my last comment is that we don't anticipate, because it has to be used, it has to be employed if it's going to be effective. And given the fact that it's so light and it's so straightforward and so simple, I'm assuming that your anticipation is that we'd have broad adoption and minimal training requirement to add this layer of protection to our staff. And the staff have to use it, so they're the ones day to day. I want to be cognizant of their imposition on them.
Madam Chair, trustee, yes, we will create a comprehensive training package for that. Expectations for its use, expectations for teams that respond, and then of course our coordination and collaboration with local law enforcement on what that response would look like. Thank you.
Other comments or questions? Vice Chair Zuna.
I'll make one other comment as we consider these things, but I think one thing that's true across the nation is after a tragedy, people respond. What are we going to put in place to prevent this going forward? I really appreciate that we're looking and talking about these things before we're in that situation.
Other comments, questions? All right, and before I make the next statement, I want to make sure, again, we all recognize these are 2 separate things we're talking about tonight. We have the wearable alert technology, and then after this, we'll discuss the policy, which we are not voting on tonight. There will be 3 readings on that, and that will go well into January. So this is completely separate from that. This isn't part of that policy. So with that, I'm open to a motion. Trustee Benetti.
I move that we approve the bid from Centengix for the wearable alert technology as presented by Chief Academic Officer Marcus Myers.
Is there a second? Trustee Redford.
Second.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. I will stop for one moment before we continue and ask if anybody needs a break. Doing okay? All right, then we will carry forward.
Okay. Madam Chair, Trustees, and Superintendent Dr. Bub, Policy 506.10 comes before you as a first reading this evening. This is the policy directly referenced in the Enhanced Campus Security Plan that provides guidance for the Campus Sentinels program. Again, thank you, and I stand for any questions you may have.
Any comments or questions? I know we have some. Vice Chair Zuna.
Thanks. You know, looking through the comments that have been submitted online, people have thoughts around, would we be better positioned if we did a closed campus, if we put a fence in place, if we had metal detectors? Can you talk about like what that looks like versus what we have now?
Madam Chair, trustees, they're not one and the same by any means. Technology and humans provide two totally different capabilities. I've traveled around quite a bit, so I've seen metal detectors. They've come a long way since I was in school, which we never had metal detectors, but just saying, if we did, they'd have been archaic. So the technology is definitely there, but I think with the Sentinel, you're going to get more. You're going to have somebody who's, it's a human face with other human faces, providing intel, doing things beyond just protecting your main ingress and egress points. I think the things that West Ada have done to reduce accessibility into our schools is commendable. All of our campuses in Meridian are access controlled, which makes a huge difference. So fencing, we've improved fencing as well. So I think the direction that we're going, I know you're weighing costs. I get that. One of the challenges that I have seen with metal detectors, it really slows down getting kids into the building in the morning. Requires staff. Staff's got to be there, right? They're going to go off. You got to search backpacks. You got to do a bunch of different things. It really clogs up the morning of trying to get kids into campus, into their classrooms, and get started on the learning portion of it. So I think there's better ways to use money than to look at metal detectors or closed campuses. Nothing's ever closed, is what I'll say.
Thank you. One other question.
We'll come back to you. Other questions? None, really? Oh, no, Trustee Benetti, you can speak. We were just sharing the love a little.
Sorry, I just got my knuckles wrapped. When we talk about that last point in the slide presentation, when it says Campus Sentinel identified attire, I'm assuming what that means is the sash that will be deployed per the policy in the case of an incident response. Is that correct? But otherwise non-detectable, covert, plain clothes?
Madam Chair, trustees, yes, the sash was something huge because I've worked with a lot of our houses of worship on very similar programs. This is something that is part of their day-to-day attire that is concealed as well. And if there is any emergency, that is something that is donned so that law enforcement, when we get there, we know who's who. Because some of the biggest challenges we have in responding to major school-related emergencies is we're coming in with incorrect information, very little information, or wrong information. And knowing when we get there that people look a certain way that we can identify as being on our side, especially in the fact that they're going to be armed, that will improve our response and capabilities on mitigating that emergency.
I have a question. So talking about plain clothes and they'll be armed, how would their gun be secured? What would that look like?
So that's also in policy in regards to the type of holster that would be required. That is a big thing, because again, especially when you get in with the littles, the young kids, they can get quite a bit handsy. When you're interacting, whether you're doing a reading group or you're out at recess or doing whatever you're doing. So retention, specific retention measures have been put into policy to make sure that a gun can't just fall out of a holster or a kid can't just pull it out of the holster for those specific reasons.
A follow-up question to that is, so when they're interacting, as you kind of talked about welcoming kids to school, I guess one thought I had is I think of it as kind of that sky marshal idea. Is that something that would become identifiable? Is that something, I mean, how do you see that? If you could elaborate on that.
Can you?
If they're welcoming kids to school, they're at doors, I mean, how does that kind of play into the sky marshal piece of it, where they're a little more anonymity with that, as I think of sky marshals? And so when we're talking about them in schools, how would that look?
So they're going to look like any other staff. And potentially we're going to have them, depending on how many can be funded and those types of things, so won't go down that road. But they're going to be there. They're going to become a familiar face at some of these schools, because that's where we need them. They're a welcoming face, high fives, whatever it may be. They're going to look and work closely with staff so they become one and the same. And when needed, obviously because of their training and experience, if they recognize things that are outside of the ordinary or things happen where they need to act, they have the sash and they have the capabilities, if worst case scenario, to use lethal force.
And one more follow-up to that, and this is in conjunction with plans you have seen in other, you said in houses of worship and in other schools across the country?
Yes. Superintendent Bubb could probably speak on that a little bit about what he learned, but even from my experience, I know in Michigan, the wearable technology is one piece. Several states in the South or Southeast have similar programs from a plainclothes aspect. And again, it's not like we're creating the wheel, we're just kind of spicing it up a little bit.
Other questions? Vice Chair Zuna?
Thank you. I know that one of the primary goals with this is to really advertise that we have sentinels so that it's a deterrent for any sort of an active shooter coming onto our schools or into our schools. Is there any good data on whether that's helped nationwide? In cases of active shooter situations, do they have SROs on campus or armed sentinels, or do we know if it truly is a deterrent?
Madam Chair, trustees, I forget that a couple of times, my apologies. So data, there is data out there. They don't specify whether it's a sentinel. They'll usually say a citizen. They use the word citizen, so we can't really determine whether it happened to be a sentinel that interacted with a threat. So that data is pretty tough, but I think from the deterrent side and community expectation, at the end of the day, we live in a different society than we all grew up in. And parents and grandparents have fears that they've never had before, just sending their kids to school. Public, private, don't matter. They're all schools, right? So I think it not only as a deterrent, but having that resource and capability in our schools will reduce stress and anxiety of parents, knowing that there's that extra layer of safety and security in our schools to protect kids, ultimately, if that day ever comes. And I hope and pray that we never experience that in our community.
Other, Trustee Benetti?
So I wanted to build off that, because I think that we've heard tonight that a variety of things, but I think despite whatever the data, the problem with the data in situations like this is that they're so infrequent that you can have a lot of, it's not like you're having statistics from a large N. They're very infrequent. They tend to be very unique situation. So what I'm just going to draw from is a direct quote. This is a direct quote from the Minneapolis school shooter, and it was in the manifesto printed, and here's the quote. I'm going to read it word for word. I recently heard a rumor that James Holmes, the Aurora Theater shooter, may have chosen venues that were gun-free zones. I would probably aim the same way. Holmes wanted to make sure his victims would be unarmed. That's why I and many others like schools so much. At least for me, I'm focused on them. Adam Lanza did the same. That's in the word specifically, looking for a soft target that was advertised as a soft target and acted upon as a soft target. And I am really focused on the deterrence aspect of this. And the deterrence aspect of this is something that will happen that we will never see the result of. And it's because we have the opportunity to say what we already know to be true with our SROs, that there are weapons on campus, to remove that invitation to attack, and to say that at any potential point at any time, there could be a response here, which would then lead into some of the other Nashville shooter that specifically avoided the locations where there was known to be additional security. James Holmes, who was considering attacking an airport and a movie theater, turned down the airport because he was concerned about substantial security and chose the one theater out of 7 in this area that had a "this is a gun-free zone" sign attached to the theater. So that's all anecdotal evidence. Because again, the data I think are sparse at best, thankfully so, despite the imposition, the intensity of each individual instance. But my particular focus and my desire is to create that strategic ambiguity so that any potential person that is in this position is not going to know for certain whether or not they'd be a response. And these targets are not as invitation soft as they are today, with the exception of our SROs, who we know cannot be in every situation. So that's my desire. I think that serving that, I think we are served best by a higher degree of strategic ambiguity. And that's why my recommendation moving forward, as we start to talk about the elements of this program, now that we're out of committee and we're talking about it in full form with the full board, is that we really lean into and highlight that aspect of the anonymity, the covert operation aspect of it. And I think that some of the things that we've talked about may run counter to that. And so ideally, as we talk about it further in committee and have further discussion, we get to clarify that role so that it's focused more on the deterrence aspect of it, so that anybody that is looking to this with nefarious effect is being given a not so subtle sign that they may not be able to complete their task because somebody's going to be there to respond.
Other comments or questions? Vice Chair Zuna?
Thanks. One of the things that I want to really understand is kind of day-to-day, if Sentinel's in our school and a situation breaks out, not an active shooter situation, but let's say that there's a fight in our school. What does that look like? If a campus Sentinel's on our school property, they're not an SRO. They're not employed to be an SRO. They're employed to be a deterrent and to be another body in a worst-case scenario. They don't have pepper spray. They don't have tasers. They don't have handcuffs, right? They have a loaded weapon. What does that look like, and what's the responsibility, and what are the expectations? Because I think when we wrote the policy, there was an expectation that they weren't engaging in that kind of a situation. That's not their role. I just want to make sure that we all understand that, and then we write the policy for what our intentions are.
Yeah. Madam Chair, Trustee Ozuna, those events do occur on our campuses, infrequently, but they do occur. We would expect our Sentinels to address that like any other staff member would. They're going to have alert technology that they can use to alert a campus safety team to respond to what that low-level fight might look like, or to what that behavior incident might look like. And we would expect them to do the same and allow that building team to respond that way. I think then they would not intervene at that time frame, but have the opportunity then to be another set of eyes to use that alert technology and us to be able to respond right away.
Can I do a follow-up? If the staff member is an active duty police officer that is working as a sentinel on a day off, does that change the way that they respond? Or a retired, I mean, right, these are active, former, or retired police officers. So how does that change the way they respond?
Madam Chair, Trustees. I think the big portion of this is we've got to separate retired and former. They are citizens. We can't look at them as police officers. They once were, but they don't have the same powers as our current. So I'll paint a scenario. We hire a sentinel who is a active police officer in a community outside of the valley, who happens to also be an SRO in their community, and they want to moonlight and get hired by West Ada. They are working at a school, a situation happens where there's a crime that has occurred, and let's go a little higher, a felony crime, a fight with a weapon. There's a high probability that that officer, because of state code allowing, is going to remove the West Ada hat and put on the police officer hat. Because I can investigate and pretty much deal with any felony crime in the state of Idaho for the most part, and they're going to take law enforcement action. Now, we've had some interesting conversations of how do we train those who are current on what the expectations are. At the end of the day, they are a West Ada employee. But if they choose to enact their law enforcement powers, we get into liability and risk management, that now falls on them and or the organization that they're employed by as a police officer, not the West Ada school district. So it's a little challenging, some things to actually really discuss if we do hire somebody who is moonlighting as a current police officer.
I think too, knowing that and having those discussions and the questions that we received tonight, this is a good opportunity for us to bring this information back to the Policy Review Committee, continue this discussion, and bring some additional ideas forward in terms of how to wear both of those hats and when is the time to wear both hats and when are we not allowed to wear both of those hats. And how do we respond to lower level incidences when I'm not wearing that hat or if I am wearing that police officer hat when Sean's wearing it.
Other questions? Trustee Redford.
Well, I won't be around to vote on the policy, but I do want to just state publicly that in general, I am in favor of this. I support our law enforcement and all the good that they do for our schools and for our community, and I think it will only help strengthen the security and safety of our schools. So I'm all for it on the record, even though I can't vote.
Other comments or questions? Trustee Benetti.
Building off of Trustee Azuna's statement, I think it'd probably be worthwhile for the Policy Review Committee to consider actual expanded rules of engagement built upon what you've said, because we do have one bullet point in there, but it strikes me, given the feedback and the clarity of that, I think that it would be excellent to expand that entire section so that we get so that we do have some good training on that in terms of how they would respond to various types of situations, given that they potentially are going to be in this sort of different gray zone area.
Yeah, actually, that was going to be my next statement was, I would ask the policy committee to please look at that because I would be curious. You said, a altercation with a weapon. What does it look like if there isn't a weapon? What does it look like if it's a really bad fight? I would be curious. They're vaping. I mean, that type of thing. What kind of response would be appropriate? What's expected of an off-duty police officer that's active duty, I should say. So for me, that would be a big question moving forward with policy committee if we could look at that. Other comments or questions? Vice Chair Zuna.
Thank you. Lieutenant Harper, I know that you gave a lot of feedback as this policy was being written and developed, and then training and the type of weapon and the type of bullet and the holster and all of the everything. From your perspective, is there anything that we're missing as it went through several iterations?
Madam Chair, Trustees, I can tell you that we've gone through so many iterations of this policy and really challenged ourselves on what it should really look like. I'll compliment Mr. Stans in the back. He brings a different perspective, which I appreciate. I bring a different perspective. So it really worked well. I think we've really done a good job of trying to figure out everything. I will say, if this is implemented and we move forward and we hire a number of sentinels, I'm sure we're gonna find things where we're like, you know what? We need to maybe change policy on this or update it. That's part of starting any new program. But I really think we've looked at this through the lens of not only from how do we keep kids safe, but how do we make sure what we're doing is safe in a school environment. And we've talked about from a weapon standpoint. I mean, we got down to the nitty gritty on the type of weapons and the type of rounds, and but really bringing on partners to also as consultants to look at checking these weapons so frequently to make sure everybody's carrying what they're supposed to. The type of people that we want to use for training and the type of training. So there's a lot that's gone into this. Again, it's been 3 years of us talking about this, waiting for the day to finally get in front of y'all.
Can I ask one more? Can you talk about the risk of accidental discharge? And then when or if that does happen, how frequently does that involve an injury?
Well, in my career at Meridian PD, we've only had one in 21 years, and that was actually in a safe spot. It wasn't out in the field or out in the community. Again, the training, it all starts with high quality ongoing training to make sure it's very clear, setting very clear expectations and guidelines to those that you're hiring on to West Ada. But again, if we're drawing a gun as a sentinel in a school environment, there's going to be a whole lot of us coming because it's going to be a really bad day.
Other comments or questions? Trustee Benetti?
So looking through, I mean, the training is pretty extensive. It's the qualifications currently as they stand is to have that peace officer training to begin with. And then we add an additional layer of training. We also have psychological screening. That's an additional layer of screening. When it comes to that training that's specific to the school environment, my understanding is there's no difference in that aspect of it than what the SROs also have to go through. I know the SROs have to do additional mental health training. They have to do, because you're doing so much more. You have to do arrest training, investigations. There's a lot more that SROs do, individual interaction with students. But that component of it, that would be the security response component, my understanding is there's no difference between the two, and it happens on an annual basis and is many, 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 many hours. Is that correct?
I'll say that's very accurate.
So just another thing that you mentioned, as we're starting to learn, and this just came up, and there's, always a danger in saying something that came off the top of your head. But would you or another SRO before the next meeting be willing to serve in that clandestine role, to dress in plain clothes, to wear a concealed weapon, and to have a West Ada badge? You're already authorized to do it in uniform, but to test it out and see what are the things that we haven't thought about? What are the concerns? Here are the things that I didn't expect when I was walking around in plain clothes. Just all the things that would come up as a test so that we can see it in a test environment, but with somebody who already has the authorization to serve in that role. Just a thought. You don't have to answer today if I put you on the spot. But
Madam Chair, trustees, I think it's a great idea. I mean, why not give it a test run? I think that's a great idea, and it's an SRO within my department who I can work very closely with, Lieutenant McGilvery can work very closely with, and give a different perspective potentially. I think it's a great idea.
We can support that.
I'm not.
Dr. Bub?
Yeah.
Oh, no, okay, pardon me. Other comments or questions? No, nothing. Vice Chair Zuna?
We had testimony tonight about adding a prevention aspect to our safety plan, and we might already have something around that, but I would be interested in talking about that in our next policy committee meeting when we address this, and specifically the behavioral awareness training. I think that would be a worthwhile discussion.
Madam Chair, trustee, I'd be happy to.
Other comments or questions? Are we sure? Trustee Benetti, are you scared? All right, perfect. Thank you both so much. I appreciate this time. I think where we're going on 2 hours, we will take a quick 10-minute break. You're welcome to everyone that just said thank you to me from the crowd. Dr. Bub, did you have a quick comment?
Yeah, Madam Chair, trustees, I just want to say before we release everybody, Sean, thank you so much for your partnership. Meridian PD, thank you guys for your partnership. This is a lot of hours. It means a lot to us. It means a lot to our community. It means a lot to our kids and to our staff. So thank you very much for everything you guys do.
All right, we'll go ahead and take a break at 7:52 and plan to resume at 8:02. We're going to resume session at 8:06 p.m. That'll take us to the next piece of our new business discussion and action, and this will be just for discussion this evening. And that will be the 10-year facilities plan given by Dr. David Reinhardt, our Chief Operations Officer. Can you turn on your mic for me, sir? Thank you.
Madam Chair, trustees, Dr. Bubb, it is my honor to bring together and to present to you the hard work many people have done. Very talented people have worked together on a 10-year facility plan. Facilities professionals, architects, engineers, finance individuals who have helped create a plan that I believe will shape the future of how we take care of our buildings for years to come. Our classrooms really are the settings for our learning. The learning isn't itself in the classroom. The building doesn't teach the lesson. Our great teachers teach the lesson, but our classrooms create the environment in which that learning can happen. Lieutenant Harper so wonderfully put it, that the building isn't just a building, it's also a place that needs to be secure, so it creates the conditions for safety, for behavior. Picture yourself in a Costco for 3 hours, and it eventually gets to your nerves. A classroom is a place that people should feel safe, secure, and ready to learn from our esteemed teachers. Tonight, we are going to talk about how we intend to go forward over the next 10 years and care for our buildings as good stewards of our taxpayers' dollars. We are a large district. We are 57 campuses. We are 2 charter school campuses. We are an office. We are a bus terminal, the largest bus terminal in the state of Idaho, I always add. We're facilities, maintenance buildings. We have a pending CTE center at a warehouse. We have a pending elementary school. We are 5 million, roughly 200,000 square feet of buildings on 1,400 acres. For context, that is about 2,800 individual homes. However, those homes would have, rather than 2.5 people living in a house, it would have 15 people living in a house. So if you remember Thanksgiving and having 15 of your family members over, imagine that day in, day out, all day, all weekend, because we have all sorts of activities on the weekend. We have roughly 44,000 people that use these buildings all day, where our homes are often empty during the day. Our children are in these buildings and doing the things that students do so much. By comparison, we're roughly the size of Boise State University in terms of square footage of buildings, but they build up. They have 6- and 7-story buildings, but we are 4 times Boise State University when it comes to acreage. So that means parking lots, turf fields, grass, tracks. We have 4 times as much to care for, and we have roughly twice as many users every day in our campuses. So it's a very large thing to take care of. Tonight we're going to talk about a couple of different things, but primarily we're going to talk about that middle section. We do have 2 capacity projects going on. Capacity projects are really those things that happen to us because an area has become larger and we need more seats. We saw that at Independence. Or at times we may come to you in the future and say an area isn't as large, and we've talked about the decommissioning policy, and that could also be a capacity project. We're not going to spend much time on any of that tonight. And then at the bottom of it, we have maintenance projects. Maintenance projects are really the things that our 320 employees in the facilities department do every day. They do 12,000 tickets responding to principals, teachers, parents saying that the carpet is tore or the light is out or the drinking fountain is broke. They take care of those. They take care of 12,000 of those a year. Tonight we're going to focus on modernization projects. taking care of the shell of the building, the guts of the building, the thing that makes it all go around. Our capacity projects underway, we've already spoken of, Independence Elementary and Star, and our warehouse center for our new CTE programs to be our third CTE center in the district. We do a lot of modernization projects now, and we've been good stewards of taxpayers' dollars. We've done parking lots and heating and air conditioning and roofs and carpets and fire systems. You see the picture here is Silver Sage. We did that bus loop and parking lot last year because they had a slope that wasn't accessible and it had become broken up. And so we do those things. However, we've not had good systems to care for those buildings and to make those decisions. We have good facilities individuals who make decisions based on their best judgment, but we've not had a system. You can do those kind of gut checks or those spot checks if you have 10 buildings or 10 campuses, but when we're really over 60, when you take all of our auxiliary buildings, you really do need a system. And so we did some homework. If you would excuse me for a second.
It's a visual aid. I'm very excited. Is it from Costco?
Madam Chair, now you say a prayer that this doesn't all collapse under me here.
Trustee Benetti's very proud.
Madam Chair, with the trustees' permission, 2 years ago now, we hired outside company, Bureau Veritas, to investigate our schools and to gather data, and to gather all of this data. This represents every piece of facilities assessment data we have for the district. We have about 4 times this much on access, ADA and access materials, but this is our facilities assessment. So this is, in here I can tell you, I happen to pull up Spalding Elementary School. Spalding Elementary School, I could tell you when the roof is due to wear out. I can tell you when the windows are due to wear out, when the plumbing's due to wear out. And we could just pull triggers on that and fix those things when we're told, when this tells us to do it. However, you can't just do that, and it's not even necessarily financially responsible. Some of those roofs are gonna, if they're 20-year roofs, they might last 25. You think about your house, you're gonna nurse those things along as long as you can, unless you're maybe doing some other things. And so we too have tremendous amounts of data. You see the slide just captures, we have some things that, we have a score that determines whether a building is in critical condition or not. It's called an FCI. The details I can always go into with you, but we have a sense of when things should be replaced, but we also have a team that's always going to validate that and help us make the best use of our taxpayer dollars. But how do you make sense of this? Like, it would take 5 people, a full-time job, just to sort through that and try to figure out when we're going to replace the windows at Spalding and stack that against other things. So we talked to some of our leaders and some of our users of these spaces, and we gathered some of their input. And we believe that it's an important thing to not just make those choices from an office, but to talk to other people. And we took all the categories you see on the left, all those categories are what's here, and we chunked things into 4 categories that made sense to us and that we could get some feedback on from people. Because as much as I'd like to say we have enough money to do everything twice over, we don't. So we're going to have to make some choices about how we spend our money and what's most important. The community, or those groups really said, and it really checks out with how you would really take care of your house or a building, is that the most critical need, the most critical thing we need to spend money on is our building envelope. We need to keep the kids dry. We need to keep them out of the rain, and we need to keep them safe. So you'll see things like a camera there in that middle picture. You'll see secure doors, and you'll see a roof that keeps that building sound. And so we're really going to, Dave Roberts, our Chief Financial Officer, will talk in a minute about how we might how we've come up with a system to make some of those decisions about how we prioritize things. But we're saying the first and most important thing is the building envelope. Next, once the students are dry and safe, we need to make sure they have good drinking water, they have electric, the lights are on, that on hot days it's cool, and on cool days it's hot or warm, and that our fire systems work, all the stuff of the building, that the stove works to fix the food. It's the stuff that makes the thing happen in the school every day. And so we're saying that's a high priority. That's one step down from critical, but still very important. Next category is the interior environment. Here you'll see things like floors, you'll see things like interior lighting and the roof itself or the ceiling itself. We have some classrooms that have mobile walls. You see that example here, or to open up and aren't as quiet sometimes. And it also includes things like restrooms. So when we talk about interior environment, we're really talking about the place where people live every day, and the place, so it's the things that sometimes wear out, but we put those at a medium level. And then finally, also very important, but we have to make some choices about how to spend money and how to think about things, is the site and access. So that's things like parking lots. It's things like fields, athletic fields. And here we see an example of a typical school, elementary school in our district. And so you have play apparatus, you have playground equipment, you have sidewalks, and you have things like the lawn itself. With those categories, we've developed a model working together with Dave Roberts to address how we might spend money that's been allocated by the state and by voters to approach the next 10 years. And I'll invite Dave up for that.
Madam Chair, trustees, Dr. Bubb, I get the fun part of this. I do want to put into perspective, because this is interesting. This stack of papers over the next 10 years represents $299 million of work that is scheduled to be done with our buildings and apparatus in our buildings that will be at their end of their useful life. So as Dave was presenting the problem, the challenge becomes how do we prioritize and how do we schedule work with finite funds? We basically have two sources of funds dedicated to facilities. One is, as you guys know, the House Bill 521, which is the modernization funds that West Ada received about $154 million. That's to last 10 years. And then the other piece is the state facilities funding that really comes from property tax relief for our taxpayers. And that's why our current property tax assessment is, you guys all got your tax notices, right? You all smiled and were very happy with the low West Ada tax that was on that. That's part of that. And so that's really the funding that will fund this over 10 years, and how do we spend that? So as part of the prioritization plan, our team built this tool where we can try to find a way to prioritize, choose the projects we're going to work on based on the experts' data on when things come to their estimated useful life. So you'll see in this first piece on here, on the 10-year facilities plan, that right now, all of these tools are things that I can modify and change percentages. I also have the switch turned on here that puts this at 3% inflation. When I told you that this represents $299 million, everybody needs to understand that's $299 million in today's dollars. It's not in 10 years dollars. So that number that we spend will most likely be higher than that. So this tool we can put an inflation factor and estimate that. And based on what Dr. Reinhardt just talked about priorities, our modernization funds and our school facilities funds isn't enough to cover everything over time. And we want to be, and we talked about 3 different types of projects. We talked about capacity projects, we talked about modernization projects, and we talked about maintenance projects. We're gonna, when we get down to it, we're gonna talk a little bit about capacity, but it's very little and we're not having a lot of projections to spend this money. So as far as priorities, for targeting purposes, we're saying in this model that we can do 90% of the work that's identified as building envelope in this period, over the 10 years. Building systems, we can do 80%. That's our second highest priority. That's the high priority. The medium priority is interior environment. We could do maybe 60% of that work. And then site and access, we can do 40%. Again, we can move those numbers. Those numbers are not going to be actual on how we spend it. We're going to do it based on actual projects that are recommended to be done. It's going to do inspection of that work to make sure it really is at the end of its useful life and prioritize our work that day. And now, and then when you want to scroll, okay, yep, down like that. Yep, sorry. Did I lock that? Sorry about that. So, a little bit closer to you.
Yeah, so
Is that better? I can hear myself just fine. Okay, sorry. Low tax rate, then we're good. Okay, so what we have before in the category subtotals, this based on the factors that I have selected above, the 90%, 80%, 60%, and 40%, these are the dollar amounts based on these reports that will need to be spent each year with a 3% inflation factor. So building envelope in 2025, for example, 1.9 million. Building systems, 4.3 million. Interior environment, $1 million. And site and access, 683,000. Okay? That's based on all of the data that's in this stack of papers that we have. And if we do that throughout from 2025 to 2035, that will have the total spend. Then, as far as providing revenue on the entries, the top line is our revenue each year. That's made up again. I talked about initially, our initial cash balance has our modernization, but this is really our state facilities funding, that excess state facilities funding that we anticipate receiving each year. And it has a little bit of a growth factor in it. On there, I shared with you guys at the board retreat how that goes. The next line is our capacity items. The capacity items, the only capacity items that are in this model, as Dr. Reinhardt said, is our CTE center that we just purchased down the road, and then Independence Elementary that is being built. This has the cost of Independence Elementary, the CTE center, and then some of the tenant improvements that will be needed in that CTE center to put its students in. That's the second line, the capacity line. The maintenance line is really the ongoing maintenance that we have to do, that our 300 custodial maintenance people do every day, every year, the 12,000 tickets that they do, things that come up. Some of those could be duplicative that is in here, but not all of it. So we have an estimate in there. And then the final line you see is the modernization that really are the projects identified in this documentation from Bureau Veritas. On the very bottom line, we'll give you a running cash flow of what we have. And so you can see, at the end of 2025, we project we'll have 145 million, 2026, 114. You can see in 2034, we're down to 3 million. And then 2035, we have about 7,500 remaining at the end of that year. These are, I want to be really, really clear. These are projections. These are assumptions. This is not actual, but this is what we're projecting will happen based on a 3% inflation rate, based on the cost structures that are assigned in this documentation. What it doesn't do, and what Dr. Reinhardt talked about before, it doesn't address if we need new capacity projects. We're not really talking about that. And that may need to happen in the next 11 years, and we'll have to have conversations on how we fund those things. But that's really the tool. The ongoing basis is we anticipate we will use this tool as a live tool. and we will use the data in this to make decisions on modernization spending. And on an annual basis, Dave's gonna talk about this, we'll report back on, here's where we are, here's how we spent money, here's how we didn't spend money, based on our goals and based on the plan that we have. But we think this is a good tool to help us prioritize and use the data we have to make decisions in what projects get done or not get done. Okay?
If we can go back to the final slide, thank you. And then we'll take questions. So, Madam Chair and trustees, Dr. Bubb, we will provide you with regular facility and budget updates using this live tool. We are working with Michelle Edmonds on a website for transparency so that people can see we did project X, Y, and Z, and this is how much they cost. And we will give you regular progress on each priority. In addition to what we normally do, which would bring you contracts and contracts that are over the thresholds as provided in policy. Madam Chair, I stand for any questions.
First of all, thank you so much to both of you. I know there was a lot of work that went into this. I know Trustee Benetti and Vice Chair Zuna were both really integral in giving some really good feedback and helping us get here. So I appreciate this very much. Any comments or questions? Trustee Benetti?
So then if I understand correctly, what we're saying is we're just applying a factor to each of the different areas, and it's 90% for critical, 80% for high, 60% for medium, and 40% for low. And what happens if we have either extra money or less money? Are you then going to sort of adjust the sliders to correspond to what you think is going to happen in the future? Like the roof, we thought 20 years, we took a look at it, it's 25. So then perhaps those resources could be used for something else. Is that basically the intention?
Madam Chair, Trustee Benetti, that is correct. That slider gives us a starting point. And as you know from your house or from anything you do, things are never what they seem. And so something may not need to be done and something else may need to, like the roof may be okay, but the parking lot has turned into gravel. And so we may have to make those changes, but we would always keep you posted. But this prioritization is our starting point.
Dr. Bubb?
Yeah, Madam Chair, trustees, I just want to clarify really for everybody so they can understand that. That's a really interesting point. The roof, we thought it was going to be done in 20 years. We get up there and we say, oh, it actually has a little bit more life. We can do a couple little repairs to it and it'll be okay. That doesn't mean that roof does not need to be replaced in the very near future. So really what we're doing is saying, okay, that's not an expense today. That may be an expense in 3 years, similar to, I think the easiest way for people to think about this, if it's your own house. You can plan, you can budget for, okay, my house, I expect that my roof is going to last 20 years. And somebody comes over, they look at your roof and they say, hey, you know what, you probably have another 5 years to go. You don't go spend all that money and say, oh, guess what, I don't have a roof to repair. You actually have to think about, okay, I don't have that expense today, but I probably have that in 2 years or in 3 years. So what it would do is allow us to say, okay, is there a higher need? But to your point, really what we would look at is we would try to keep that factor right about 90% for critical needs. We would try to keep that factor. And that's an easy way for us to report back to the board and say, hey, we're at 92%. We had some extra expenses when it comes to that critical area, or we're at 88%. We were able to put some stuff off for another year.
And I want to clarify too for anybody listening that we're not voting on this tonight. We're not necessarily approving the expenditure. We're being presented with expenditures that will come up and different ways that can be taken care of. And then as each expenditure comes up, that will come before the board and we'll look at that and make decisions as we go. Other comments or questions? Vice Chair Zuna.
Have you put any flexibility into this to handle projects or needs that come up that weren't part of the assessment? Because the assessment's only like what's current on our buildings today, is that correct? When the assessment got done. So if you identify a need that wasn't part of that, is that built into the plan as well?
Madam Chair, Trustee Ozuna, the assessment covers 20 years of needs, and so most everything's somewhere in that. There are things that at times you don't anticipate. Maybe a parking lot is darker than you thought. A principal comes to you and says, parking lot's darker than we thought. I think that's one of those pieces where we do have to take in some judgment on, no, it's a site and access. So it'd still be spending against what's presented as our site and access. So it may not be, somewhere in here it may not have said the parking lot's too dark. But we will have to take some judgment. But we would apply those funds to where they belong. So we wouldn't spend slush. We wouldn't we don't have a slush fund that covers those other things. It would be applied here.
I have just a general comment as I was thinking through this. When we bond or levy for money for school facilities, we get to be really specific with our voters about where we're going to spend that money, or we can be more specific about where we spend the money. And since we have this, chunk of dollars, thanks to the state, how do you make sure you're putting it in the right place when you don't have the voters looking at that? So I really appreciate the thought that's gone into the assessment and the tool, because that's not going out to anybody else. And so I do think it's a really good way for us to evaluate where those greatest needs are and be able to, report to our communities on the reasons why we're spending money where we are.
Dr. Bub?
Madam Chair, Trustees, I feel like I need to say a couple things. Number one, as a district the size that we are, we have never had a thorough facilities assessment that we have today. We have never been able to, really what we've been able to do is address needs as they come in. And we say, okay, well, we got to replace that air conditioning. Let's figure out how to do that. This is the first time that we've actually been able to, and if you really dig in on that to the penny, I don't know how, that those are all perfect estimates, but it was a very thorough assessment. And so thank you for leading that. This is the first time we've had it. It's long overdue for us as a district to be able to look at that stack of papers. But then we get that stack of papers, and that was really overwhelming, right? And then you look and you go, oh, great, maybe we have too much information. And so a lot of people put time, effort, and energy into making this happen. I appreciate both you folks for doing this and making this a reality. But I think it makes us better as a district. I think it makes us more transparent to our community. And I think we then know how to address the different needs that we have across a wide swath area.
Agreed. Other comments? Trustee Benetti?
Yeah, I'm just gonna pile on the compliments because we've never, school districts in general have never been in a situation where you are given an allowance of this budget of this magnitude, $150 million, and now you have to make it last over 10 years. Most of the time, you're being entirely reactive. You don't do the thing unless the bond passes. You simply don't do it. And in this case, we have the ability to make these sort of intelligent decisions over a 10-year period. But let's be clear, these are all new set of skills that you guys are developing. And I, for one, am super excited, super proud that you've jumped in with both feet and are taking this approach because we want to be in a position to really validate the trust that the legislature put in us. Right? Because make no mistake, this came from the legislature. We appreciate what they have done to be able to say we need to modernize our facilities. And now we have to do our part and validate that trust by showing where it's being spent, the intelligence behind it, the thoughtfulness behind it, the fact we still have to make trade-offs. We're not going hog wild. We need to be really, really thoughtful. And in some of those cases, people are going to be disappointed that whatever X is doesn't happen. But to give our public that degree of confidence that, okay, maybe X didn't happen, but I know that there's a plan behind it. I know there's a prioritization. We all have to make tough decisions, just like I have to make a tough decision as a homeowner, whether or not I get to do X or Y project. And so that we have a framework, we have something that we can measure progress against, we can hold the administration accountable as a Board of Trustees, and if necessary, make adjustments to the future, but do so intelligently over a decade. An entirely new set of skill sets that you guys have developed here. And I'm not going to be around for the whole 10-year period, but thrilled that you guys are taking this approach and excited for what the future holds in this. So, well done.
Trustee Benetti will be around. He just might not be in this room, right? Any other comments or questions? All right, thank you so much. We appreciate it. It is a lovely stack of paper. Yes, agreed, agreed. With that, I'm open to a motion on executive session. Trustee Redford.
I move that the board enter into executive session per Idaho Code 74-2061B to consider the evaluation, dismissal, or disciplining of, or to hear complaints or charges brought against a public officer, employee, staff member, or individual agent or public school student.
Do I have a second? Trustee Benetti?
Second.
This is a roll call vote. Trustee Benetti?
Aye.
Trustee McCullough? Aye. Trustee Redford?
Aye.
Vice Chair Zuna?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion carries 5-0. We'll move into executive session at 8:36 PM. We will we'll rejoin open session at 8:40 p.m. I'm open to a motion. Trustee Benetti.
I move that the board ratify the district administration's decision to end employee D's administrative leave and to authorize the employee to resume employment.
Is there a second? Trustee Redford.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. I'm open to another motion. Trustee Benetti.
I move that the board ratify the district administration's decision to place employee E under administrative leave and further to accept have the board accept the district administration personnel's acceptance of the resignation of employee E.
Is there a second? Trustee Redford.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. That takes us to good of the order this evening, and we do have 4 people that have signed up. As a reminder, just housekeeping, just like public comment, we need to keep it high level. We don't talk about any individual person, employee, or anything like that. And you'll have 2 minutes. I would ask when it hits 2 minutes, if you're not quite there, you'd wrap it up in the next 5 or 10 seconds. We try to keep that fair. And then when you come up, you'd please state your name and to what issue you're speaking to, because as a reminder, good of the order is not held to agendized items. We will start with Mr. Cade Holbert.
There we go. Perfect. All right. Madam Chair, Trustees, Dr. Bubb, my name is Cade Holbert, and I am a parent from Zone 3. And I just wanted to bring up some concerns I had during this last election for our zone, for the school board. And personally, I think it's probably borderline illegal or definitely inappropriate of what happened during the campaigning of this individual who's the newly elected member of our zone. 2 specific events that I was aware of and participated in, 2 sponsored events of this person campaigning, and it definitely put some undue pressure, I think, on parents to feel like they had to vote for this individual. One of the school events was at a school-sponsored event for a movie night at this elementary school, and also a STEM night. This individual gave a speech to have them vote for them, and also wearing a shirt that said to vote for them. And so it definitely put undue pressure. I think it's really important that our schools stay very unbiased during election season and not have that pressure put on us. I understand the outcome of the election and that whole thing, but I really want to make sure that this doesn't set a precedent or a standard going forward of this is okay to campaign on school grounds and at school events. So I just really hope that going forward that the board can really emphasize like, hey, this can't happen. We need to be proactive that we don't allow this to happen, and also to investigate this matter. Happy to provide information after the fact, but yeah, it definitely was clear, like, hey, I'm the front runner and you need to vote for me, and it was interesting. I was like, okay, well, yeah, so I really hope that the board will look into this and the district would look into it, so thank you.
Thank you. Next is Ms. Rita Slack.
Hello, Chairman and trustees, everyone here. You just look lovely for being here all night. And I too am actually, and I wasn't aware, but I'm addressing illegal infractions that occurred on school grounds by Megan Brown during her campaign. As administrators and educators, your responsibility is to raise the next generation of leaders and citizens. In addition, the Board of Education clearly communicates professional code of conduct. If you cannot follow the professional code of conduct, nor properly educate the students to conform to that conduct, nor follow election integrity laws, how is it that you are preparing your students? As a board and administrators, it is imperative that you hold yourselves to those standards. Ergo, I am formally requesting that you investigate, first of all, then develop appropriate training for all staff to understand and follow that professional code of conduct. Policy must also be implemented to support this. It is not optional. Legal election integrity laws must be followed. There have been infractions and it must be addressed, and I respectfully appreciate your attention.
Thank you. Next is Miss Valerie James. It has been kind of a long night. I wouldn't be surprised if. One more time, Valerie James. Okay. Mr. Eli Hudson.
Chair Frazier, trustees, Dr. Bob, thanks for allowing us to speak this evening. I'm a father of 2 school children in West Ada Zone 2. I'm concerned about the recent election and events that allegedly transpired. Idaho election laws are clear surrounding school board elections and campaigns. Idaho Code 74604 states, "Neither a public entity nor any of its employees shall use, nor shall a public official authorize or use public property or resources to advocate for or against a candidate or a ballot measure." The law's remedy is a maximum fine of $2,500, nothing else. Speaking generally, political actors and parties could conclude that a penalty of $2,500 or less is a small price to pay to acquire a seat on the school board. So I'm calling on this board to formulate a new district policy. Specifically, should a candidate engage in the prohibited behaviors according to Idaho Code, that candidate should be barred from taking a seat on the school board. This measure would completely disincentivize the unfair behavior in question. As of right now, this is not the case. In fact, last year, an incident occurred in the Boise School District that required the Attorney General of the state of Idaho to issue a very stern warning. It's possible that the very stern warnings aren't dissuading candidates from ignoring the law, which doesn't bode well for future elections here in West Ada. It's unfortunate the political climate is so heated. Some will cross any lines and do whatever they believe they have to in order to win. However, this sort of reckless behavior can be engaged in by both sides, where the law and its minimal penalties are weighed and disregarded sheerly in the interest of winning an election. But turning our schools and public property into political war zones and sticking our kids in the middle of this is not the reality most of us want to live in. Also, politicizing district staff will also cause many headaches for the school board and will be a complete waste of the board's time. Thank you again. We appreciate all the hard work that you do.
All right, thank you. That concludes the patron input for our good of the order. Sorry. Well, you weren't listed. All right. The next part of good of the order, I'd like to take a moment and speak to Trustee Angie Redford and how much I've enjoyed working with her the last 4 years. This will be her last meeting, and she has been such a value to the district and to the board and to me personally. I have been so impressed as a mother of 4. She started this with about 48 hours notice, decided to jump in and run on a very difficult time with very difficult circumstances. And I know as a board, we've talked many times about the sacrifices that she and her family have made to do this and to serve the community that she loves, that she grew up in, and that she feels that she takes a lot of value in. I just want to thank her personally for all she's done for me and tell her that I'll still call her 14 times a day, because I do. And again, thank her so much for myself and on really behalf of so many folks that appreciate so much the work that she's done. Thank you. Yeah. We have a gift. Are there any other comments?
You do what you want.
Dr. Bub.
Yeah. Trustees and Angie, I will just say I'm so appreciative, and I know our community is so appreciative of the work that you've done, whether that be advocating for CTE or just always finding a way to be a part of West Ada. really leaning in and being a listener. It's not easy to being a board member. Evelyn is drinking through a fire hose right now because there's a lot of things that happen in West Ada where we dump a lot of things and we try to stay away from acronyms, but it's the world we live in. And so thank you for leaning in. Thank you for being curious. Thank you for being a learner alongside of us. And thank you for your guidance and always having really, really good input on everything you've done. Thanks for giving up a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of energy to make us who we are today. We appreciate you.
Vice Chair Zuna.
You know, one thing, every time there's a change on the executive team or a change in the board members, it changes the dynamics. It always just does. And I was nervous when, you came in, and I didn't know what that was going to look like. And we were on the opposite side of a couple really important votes. And I think that you and I are a good example of how that should work. When you can still respect another person's opinion and the decisions that they make and continue to come together and work together and be stronger for our kids and our community. And we represent a community of very different backgrounds and the way that people think and process and all of the things. And so I think it's really good that we have diversity and thought on this board. And I've loved working with you. I'm going to miss you. I appreciate your no-nonsense approach. I appreciate your witty humor. There's not another you. And I also am going to call. I'm really going to miss you.
Trustee Benetti.
So it's really interesting because for all of us who have served on this board, and going back as many years at least as I can see, we were forced with a decision, and that decision was either to run for office and all the things that are entailed in a campaign, or in the case of Evelyn and myself and Renee, to be able to put ourselves up for consideration for appointment. But in both of those times, we have the opportunity to do things like, ask questions. Figure out about the job. Think about what it would take to be able to do that, and whether or not we'd be able to run for office or take the time to be involved in just what does it mean to be a board member. But Angie is unique because Angie was in a situation with less than 24 hours being forced to make this decision. And for the sake of our kids, that woman jumped off a cliff in the dark with no knowledge of what was on the other side. And she didn't care because she was doing it for our kids. And that takes a level of bravery and courage that I could only hope to become a tenth of which at some point in my life in the future. I appreciate you. I admire you. You will always be my cliff diver. And I wish you nothing but the best. And I probably won't call you because you don't need another phone call. But in particular, if we have anything that is around CTE, and I really, really, really need to know something about CTE, I'm going to call my CTE expert, who's Angie Redford. Thank you for everything you've done, and we appreciate everything that you have been to us, and wish you nothing but the best in the future.
And Trustee McCall.
So we've only worked together a short time. But I appreciate that you were part of my appointment to be here on the board, and I am just sad that I don't get to work with you more, because everything everyone has told me and what you've displayed to me thus far has been that you deeply care about the children in the district. And I don't call you every day, but I'm wondering if I can have your phone number so that maybe I can call you. I might have lots of questions in the future, and I feel like you'd be a really good resource. So, yeah, give me a call.
I feel a girls' trip coming on, so I think it's going to be awesome. All right. Yeah, so thank you, and I want to grow up and be you. So with that, any future agenda items?
Well, I have something
Oh, you want to say something? Okay, go ahead. I wasn't going to put you on the spot.
No, but I hope I die before all of you, and then you can speak at my funeral, because that was fantastic. Well, I had to write things down, otherwise I would probably blather on forever, and it's 9 o'clock. Nobody wants to be here that long. So Here we are at my last board meeting. The past 4 years have been an incredible ride. Honestly, a little like Mr. Toad's wild ride with no seatbelt. I've learned a ton, I've laughed a lot, and somehow stayed mostly upright through the twists and turns. To my fellow board members, thank you. You've taught me so much, sometimes on purpose and sometimes on accident, but always in ways that made me better. I truly appreciate the teamwork, the honest conversations, and even the moments where we had to remind ourselves to just breathe and keep going. First, Lori, she became my best friend and my rock from day one. I wouldn't have survived this without you. She dedicates 50 plus hours a week to West Ada. She's relentless in supporting kids. Her energy and commitment are beyond impressive. And I've just learned so much from watching you care so deeply about every student and staff member. Trustee Benetti, your policy brain blows me away every time. Sometimes I think you're part cyborg, like your brain is a computer. Still can't comprehend how you do it, but I've learned so much just trying to keep up. Trustee Ozuna, your heart, experience, and perspective have truly made me a better trustee. Dr. Bob, your vision, hands-on leadership, and genuine care for student success have been inspiring, and you're also just a really decent guy. It's been a pleasure to serve alongside you, and I hope you consider me a friend. And then to the entire exec team, I mean, I could have gone through each and every one of you, and I wanted to, but, you know, we don't have all night, so. But to the entire executive team, your professionalism, respect, hard work, laughing at my stupid jokes, whether you were sucking up or not, it made me feel good, has left a lasting impression on me. Serving with such talented, dedicated people has been an honor, and your example will stay with me forever. And I'll leave you with one quote from Teddy Roosevelt that really resonates with me about public service. Far better it is to dare mighty things, to win glorious triumphs, even though checkered by failure, than to take rank with those poor spirits who neither enjoy much nor suffer much, because they live in the gray twilight that knows neither victory nor defeat. Thank you, everyone. Redford out. Do I stand for myself? Thank you.
I need your signature motion, by the way.
Yes. Any future agenda items? Trustee Redford.
Okay, so although I won't be here for the next board meeting, I would like the board to clarify policy, explicitly prohibiting political events, campaigning, or distributing campaign materials on school property. I too have become aware of the situation surrounding my my race, and saw videos that this kind of activity was going on. So perhaps adding an administrative regulation sent annually to all principals and administrators as a reminder, especially before elections, to prevent misuse of school resources or students for a political purpose may be something to look at. And maybe adding consequences at a district level for people who are complicit in that. And it's unfortunate that we even need to say this, but recent events shows that a reminder is necessary. School property and students should never be used for political campaigning. Ignorance is not an excuse. Anyone with a moral compass should intuitively know that West Ada students should not be used as political pawns to garner votes. So, yeah, that's my future agenda. Yeah.
Redford out. Any other future agenda items? All right, with that, I'm open to a motion. Trustee Redford.
Motion to adjourn, please.
Is there a second? Trustee Benetti.
Second.
Any discussion?
Chair Frazier,
Yes, ma'am.
can we make a noticed announcement for the annual reorganization meeting?
We sure can. It actually says that right in front of me, but I might have gotten a little bit sidetracked. So 2026 Annual Reorganization of the West Ada Board of Trustees will be held on January 12th, 2026 at 6 p.m. All right, with that, no discussion. All those in favor of adjourning, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. We adjourn right on the nose at 9 p.m. Merry Christmas.